At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability. ASU isn't just ahead of the curve. It's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Later with Mo Kelly on KFI AM 640.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. And yeah, I know I'm get off my lawn old. I get that. The music is too loud. Kids get on my nerves. All that is true. But sometimes I am justified. Coming to Inglewood next weekend, not this weekend, but next weekend, is the Rolling Loud concert. That's the concert that you can hear literally 4 miles away. Last year, you could hear it. It was at Hollywood Park, right next to SoFi Stadium, outdoor. You could hear it at my house 4 miles away. I think I was justified in being a little bit angry about how loud it was. It lived up to its name, Rolling Loud. And it's coming back around again next weekend, weekend after next. It's going to be headlined by A$AP Rocky, who's probably still celebrating his not guilty verdict. Playboy Cardi, don't know any of that music. Peso Pluma. Stephanie, do you know Peso Pluma?
Heard of it, don't know it.
Mark, Peso Pluma?
No bueno.
Okay. Yeah. And YG? Anyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rapper.
Quavo? I think I've heard of Quavo.
Part of
the MG, Migos?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, yeah. Sexy Red, heard of her.
No, you've heard of her.
No, I've heard of her. I mean, I've heard her music. If one of her songs played on our partner station, 92.3, Real 92.3, I wouldn't be able to identify it.
Oh, I see, yeah.
You know, I'm familiar because she's been in the news for any number of things over the months and years of her short career.
Peso Pluma is huge. Peso Pluma could probably close that show, probably headline.
Can you name one of their songs?
I can't.
Okay.
It's
Does your daughter like them?
No. They're like it's like traditional Latin music. But it's deep within the culture.
Peso Pluma probably gives it away that it's Latin music.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, but it's like a deep. It's like they're like imagine when we were young and Gloria Estefan, you know how big she was. You know they're
conga.
It's like that. But I'm just saying just how big the vibe was. The vibe is big.
I think didn't he play in the Recovery Wildfire?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's why it sounds familiar.
Yeah. Yep.
Can you clue me in on this? I have no idea who they are.
No,
it's Peso Pluma. It's a guy.
It's Peso Pluma.
Oh, it's one person.
It's one person.
Okay,
yeah. It's a guy. So it's like Bad Bunny.
So why isn't Peso Plumo as opposed to Pluma?
Pluma
is femenina.
There might be his last name
because Peso likes the Pluma. Okay,
Peso Pluma. Okay, and Playboy Cardi. Can you name any of his songs? I think it's a hit.
Yeah, Playboy Cardi. They play Playboy Cardi all day. He has quite possibly one of the biggest records within the urban music genre right now. They're playing it nonstop upstairs.
Okay, all right. I just
nonstop.
Can't name it.
He's got a single with Weeknd right now.
All right, I've heard Weeknd.
Sounds like it's almost like the Weeknd with like a more manly voiced Weeknd rapping, singing together.
That's a diss. Okay.
No. Because you know how Weeknd has that high voice.
Mm-hmm, he does.
And then Playboy Cardi's got like a more masculine voice. Sound, okay, look, they're playing upstairs, man. They're playing upstairs.
Well, tickets are starting at just $179 for general admission. I don't know if that means you get to actually sit down, if it's just like a standing area, but it's general admission, $179. And, attendees will be treated to signature activations like the Rolling Loud Tattoo Parlor, and art installations that deepen the connection to hip hop culture.
Yeah.
Get your tickets now. Yeah.
This is Peso Pluma.
Okay. That doesn't ring a bell. You can show me a picture of his Instagram page. It doesn't ring a bell.
No. Okay. There's no Peso, huh?
No.
No Peso.
I can tell you also that I will not be there, and I'll make sure that if anyone comes near my house, I will shoo them away and tell them to get off my grass.
No parking.
You'll know when
street.
it starts, too. Is that the one that we heard?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Heard from miles away. Miles away. Now, according to the mayor of Inglewood, we're not supposed to have that problem again. Mayor Butts, James Butts.
That's right, yeah.
We shall see. If they start playing it loud, it's not like anyone's going to actually stop them because it was loud all weekend last year and they did nothing, despite all of our complaints.
Yeah, because apparently that they had like a record number of police calls for the noise disturbance.
They did across like 5 different police departments. Yeah, it was Inglewood Police Department, if I remember correctly, Manhattan Beach Police Department, Gardena Police Department, obviously LAPD, and also LASD.
Manhattan Beach, that's scary.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's far.
But it's far, but it isn't that far because I go there to referee basketball. I know it's 7 miles from my house, but that's about 10 miles from the SoFi Stadium, Hollywood Park.
I'm just saying, if they're complaining and it's all the way over there, that's too loud.
Oh, yeah.
I'll even say that.
Yeah. And I have double pane windows, and it did not help at all. It felt like I was still at the concert. Oh, also, there's Wango Tango coming up. And on Thursday, I'll be joined in the studio by JoJo, and we're going to be giving away a pair of tickets to iHeartRadio's Wango Tango, which is coming back to Southern California, and it's headed to the beach. On Saturday, May 10th, a little ways out, at Huntington City Beach, Wango Tango's all-star lineup will feature performances by Doja Cat. I know who she is. Meghan Trainor, I know who she is. Cat's Eye, not so much. Inmix, no. Psychers, A2O, is that like French? A2O.
Are you just making up names now? Cat's Eye is a Stephen King story. Come on.
I'm
Cut
not.
it out.
It's KATSEYE.
Okay.
I'm kind of glad that JoJo's the one coming on because he does a whole K-pop thing, and some of those are K-pop bands.
Yeah.
So he'll know.
That's why we bring on the experts, because I'm not the expert.
There you go.
I mean, for all the time I was in the music industry, that was last century. I'm not the expert anymore.
That was, huh?
It was.
It's been a long time since we were in the music industry.
Yeah, it was a long time. And don't forget, Hearts to Hearts was also on the bill, as is Orange County's own Gwen Stefani. Tickets are going to go on sale on National Pie Day, March 14th at 10 a.m. at AXS.com. I might go to this.
I told you.
It's a Saturday.
Yes.
Huntington
Doja Cat.
Huntington Beach is a great place to go. Huntington Beach is great.
Doja Cat, Gwen Stefani. To me, Gwen Stefani and a reunion of No Doubt. It's not just Gwen, it's a reunion of No Doubt on stage. That's going to be killer.
The only thing is, this is just a one little teensy-weensy problem. Because I worked in the music industry for so long, I am accustomed to a level of access and treatment that I must receive.
So if they don't send a limo for you, you're out?
Doesn't have to be a limo.
No. Oh, okay.
But in other words, like, I need backstage passes. I need to be able to hang out with the artists in that kind of green room area.
Oh, do you have a rider?
Not, I wouldn't say it's a rider, but if I'm going to go to something like this, when you worked in the business, you had access to everything and anything, because people would want to come to your concerts that you were working for your label, and you would extend that courtesy in return. It's like, we had Janet Jackson. Hey, you got Janet tickets we can have? Yeah, we have some holdover tickets, and we give them out to friends within the industry. But it was with the understanding, when you have an artist that I want to see, you do the same for me. And you made sure that we all had backstage passes and access, or you can come to like the after party and meet the artist or something like that. Those are the things that I'm accustomed to.
I'm a big fan of riders with insane star demands on them, like they're Caligula. Like, if you had a rider, you would make somebody pick the olives off your pizza and insist on, a couple bottles of Jack in your green room.
Yes, but I wouldn't make people touch my pizza. I would just say, don't order any pizza with black olives. I'd just give them the order.
Yeah, I don't know if you have to pick the olives off. Who's ordering them in the first place?
By the way, I
writer
should
would say pepperoni and sausage pizza.
Let me point out the delicious irony that you, as an olive hater, work in a building on Olive Street.
It's not the first time when I worked for the Los Angeles Chamber Orchestra. It was at Olive Street downtown.
Accept your destiny, Mo.
No, Olive. Just because Olive is going to be around me, it doesn't mean that it's going to be on my pizza.
You say so.
Oh no, I'm positive. I am positive. KFI AM 640, we're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
I've never met Bill Maher. We have friends in common, so I can't say anything about him personally. I know he knows of me because of these friends former friend we have in common. I've written about him, talked about him a number of occasions. I don't expect ever to get an invite on his TV show because I've never really spoken of him in glowing terms. But he's back in the news for his Oscar commentary. And I want you to listen to this. And for me, it's confirmation that he listens to Later with Mo Kelly. Even if he denies it, I'm running with it. It's confirmation he listens to the show. He's in a conversation. This was on a show Friday. And he wants to make the argument that Emilia Perez did not win the Oscar for Best Picture, and it was due to cancel culture. Listen to this.
Well, but there are people who say cancel culture isn't a real thing. And
there it is. See, he listens to Later with Mo Kelly. He's talking about me.
Well, but there are people who say cancel culture isn't a real thing. And I would say to them, it just happened again at the Oscars. Now, you may not think it happened, but the movie that was going to win it all was Emilia Perez, right?
That's not true. That's not true. I want you to put a pin in that.
Was Emilia Perez, right? And, I got it. Hollywood loved this. They're finally going to have the person who was a trans person. God bless her. And she did a great job. And I read her tweets. It's just a little childlike in her tweets, and that I sense it's just a little Kanye-esque. Just whatever's on the brain comes out. I mean, Hitler, just don't mention Hitler at all. I feel like it never comes out good. And then some things she said, which are just, oh yeah, you know what? I've said things like that. It's just very, very honest. But, of course, for the woke community, it was way too far. And this movie that was going to win it all.
It was never going to win it all. But go ahead, Bill. Go off.
Going to win it all. And was the front runner. And she was going to get it all.
It was not the front runner.
Front runner. And she was going to get it all. Suddenly was out to lunch. And good news for Anora. That's what happened. So, yes, cancel culture is still with us. It may just be a little more subtle.
Bill Maher, it won't be the first time, but he's definitely wrong on this one. I'll get to the whole cancel culture aspect of his commentary in just a second. If you know anything about the Academy Awards, the voting period for the actual Oscars is February 11th. The voting begins, and the voting ends on February 18th. So you just had a week in there. 1 week after that, we had predictions from all the top entertainment outlets as far as which film was expected to win the Oscar for Best Picture. And mind you, I'm not disregarding that Emilia Perez won a Golden Globe for, I think, Best Film, Comedy, or Musical. But it was one of two films that did well at the Golden Globes. And you also had The Brutalist, which won. So there were two movies coming out of the Golden Globes, in theory, which could be considered a front runner for the Oscar. That's the first piece of information. Hollywood Reporter predicted Anora to win Best Picture. They had Emilia Perez 6th. Deadline said the race is wide open. Yahoo News predicted Anora. Variety predicted Anora. Entertainment Weekly, say it with me, predicted Anora. Rotten Tomatoes predicted Conclave. It's dark horse Anora. There was not anyone predicting that Emilia Perez was the front runner. And let's say Emilia Perez was the front runner. Was it the movie The Front Runner like Demi Moore? because Demi Moore was the front runner and had all the momentum, and she did not win Best Actress. So just because you think someone's going to win, it doesn't need to be some sort of conspiracy or some sort of social statement why a movie does not win. And if you looked at the history of Emilia Perez, it was largely disliked by GLAAD and other organizations. They did not like the depiction of a trans person at all. And to say that it's somehow the woke mob was the reason that the picture did not win is to deny all facts as we know it. Mark, you look like you had something to say.
I was just contemplating whether researchers had taken the time to count up the lost hours spent by Bill Maher complaining and whining about cancel culture. Can you think of anything more painful apart from, say, Bill Maher and Barry Weiss whining about cancel culture? Or throw Jordan Peterson in there while you're at it. There's a real brain trust.
It's weird because the people who complain most about cancel culture have never been canceled, number one. And of all the controversial things that Bill Maher has said over the years, he has never lost a platform. Yes, his politically incorrect show on ABC was canceled, but all shows are canceled for lack of ratings or what have you. But real time, he says whatever he wants without consequence.
No, I used to be quite a fan of his, and I interviewed him and I read the novel that he wrote, and it was actually pretty good. But I think he's really turned into an old Dunning-Kruger case in his later years.
He thinks very highly of himself.
To say the least.
Let me put it that way. But I'm going to say this since I know that Bill is listening right now, or someone will report back to him. There is no cancel culture because Mel Gibson is doing okay. The last I checked.
Oh, he's even getting his guns back.
Right. And he is taking a prominent role in California politics. He is not in any way canceled. Now, let's not confuse someone who was controversial with someone who has been canceled. I can't think of anyone who's been canceled. Has someone maybe lost an opportunity or maybe lessened the size of their stardom? Yes. But I would interpret canceled as some sort of definitive and finalized status in Hollywood.
Don't you think, Mo, that most adults can process the fact that there are repercussions in the real world for things that you say and do?
Yes. And maybe there are more repercussions now because of social media. People have more of a voice to at least be heard. I think if we had social media 15, 20 years ago, yeah, there might have been a little more pushback against certain movies or certain comedians, but there was no voice back then. But now, have you noticed? Dave Chappelle, not canceled, very controversial, has had a lot of effed up things to say about the trans community. If you can't cancel a comedian, I don't see how you can say that cancel culture is now ruining entertainment when comedians, for example, have been more brash, more outlandish, arguably more offensive than in past 15, 20 years.
Cancel culture is not a thing. Even the guy the comedian who did the RNC that made everybody so angry, I read that he just got his own special.
That's my point. That is exactly my point. And as for all the negativity that comedy routine yielded, it was actually a boon for his career. Bill Maher, you are wrong in every single possible way. There is no cancel culture. There are certain consequences, and your career may be limited if you're just an a-hole and no one wants to work with you. But that's completely different. That's not someone just making a group decision that you will not have a place in entertainment. It just means that you won't be as popular as you were before. Ask Will Smith. He hasn't been canceled, and he slapped the crap out of a man on live TV, committed assault and battery for the whole world to see. And they act like, well, here's your Oscar. That same night, didn't even ask him to leave the building. And his only punishment was, well, you can't come back to the show for the next 10 years. Oh, okay. If that doesn't get you canceled, I don't know what will.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And we're on the precipice of another Dodger season. World Series champion Dodgers. And I'm so excited. I just know that there is this process where, especially in today's world, when a team wins, and you want your team to win. If you are a sports fan, if you're a Dodgers fan, you want the Dodgers to win. If you're unfortunately an Angels fan, well, that's not going to happen. But you still want them to win. And there's a price that comes with it. Part of what makes the Dodgers organization so successful for the past, I'll say, decade or so, they're willing to spend money. They're willing to take big risks. And they're willing to do whatever it takes to put the most talent on the field. That means signing someone like Shohei Ohtani to a $700 million deal and deferring a lot of it into the future. Meaning Shohei Ohtani could get hurt or have a career-ending injury and the Dodgers would still be on the hook for most of that $700 million. They've gone out and gotten some of the best players from around the world, Japan, Korea, and other places. And they've been consistent in that regard. But the flip side is there is a cost to it. A literal financial cost. If you're going to pay the big bucks for these players, then invariably that is going to be passed on to consumers, and there's no way around it. We saw it happen with the Lakers and Showtime. The Lakers were on the verge of bankruptcy. Then they got Magic Johnson and James Worthy and other players, and they made a commitment to them, but it also meant the tickets to see the Lakers games in the 1980s, they became really, really expensive. And that's part of the reason why you saw so many celebrities there. It was the place to be. The Dodgers are having a similar type of resurgence, and it's going to be very expensive going forward if you want to see a game in person. There are a few people here who have season tickets. I know Amy King has season tickets, and Nick Poliokini will catch a few games over the course of the year, and I've caught a few over the course of the year. But you're almost going to have to treat Dodger Stadium like Disneyland in respect that it's going to cost a lot of money going forward to take a family of four. It's going to be almost like a family vacation. Maybe you didn't know. The average price of Dodgers tickets, home or away, in other words, they're a big draw even on the road. Average price, $181. And that's over $40 more than the next highest average ticket price, the Boston Red Sox. For me, as someone who loves the Dodgers but doesn't feel the need to go to Dodger games all that often, it's great because as far as I'm concerned, it costs the same amount on my TV until they renegotiate that package. You know what I mean? So I'm not spending more money this year on the Dodgers than I did previously. That's okay. But if you plan to see a lot of games, you're going to pay a lot of money. And if you wonder, well, okay, $181 and it's $40 more than the Boston Red Sox. Well, give me some context. All right, here's your context. It's a 25% increase from the average price of Dodgers tickets just last year. 25% increase in 1 year. And that is the second largest year-over-year increase among all teams. Only the Detroit Tigers, 29%, saw a bigger increase in ticket prices. And I'm wondering, the Detroit Tigers haven't won anything in I don't know how long, and they jumped up 29%. I don't know who's paying that. But the Dodgers also account for 3 of the most expensive single-game tickets in the upcoming season. Aside from the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, which is $837 average ticket price, the home opener against the Detroit Tigers, $604. And the back-to-back New York Yankees matchups near the end of June, $436 and $414 are projected to be the most expensive single game tickets this season. I can't imagine spending $600 on a single baseball game, but it is reminiscent of the Lakers when you had those courtside seats that started going for thousands of dollars, even up till today. I don't even know how much they are today, but when the team started winning consistently, that is a byproduct of it. Now, the LA market has made it very clear as far as attendance, the Dodgers continue to lead baseball or near the top in attendance every single season. So the organization has made this calculation where even though we may be raising prices, we know that the fan base will still support the team. They just have to keep winning because Dodger Stadium is one of the crown jewels in all of baseball. I don't know if there's a better place to watch a baseball game. I've been to maybe 7 or 8 of the existing parks. Dodger Stadium is still near the top. In summer, especially in the evening, I don't know if you can get a better view in the stadium. It is a gorgeous place to watch the stadium, and they keep updating the stadium to keep it as fan-friendly as possible. The seats are better now than when I was a kid. The whole experience, the food is a lot better than when I was a kid. Don't get me wrong. Still love Dodger dogs, but they have other food offerings to complement them, which makes it more of a modern feel. Because Dodger Stadium for decades was way behind the newer stadiums as far as the food offerings, and they've caught up in that regard. But you're going to have to pay for this team, which is on the field. It's a fantastic amalgamation of talent. They are far and away the favorites to win the World Series, from the hitting lineup to the pitching rotation. But you're going to have to pay a pretty penny. I'm going to stay my ass at home and watch on TV. That's the best place to do it. But for those who have season tickets, it's going to be very difficult to keep those seats up from year to year. Mark, have you been to a Dodger game yet since you've been down here?
No, someday you and I are going to go, and I'll enjoy a $30 light beer and a $20 hot dog, and we'll have a great day.
Well, since our partner station is AM 570, LA Sports, in other words, the Dodger station, I might know some folks over there who might be able to help us with some tickets.
I feel like I need to go at least once, right?
No, you have to go. And I say this as someone who has any appreciation of baseball. You got to go to Dodger Stadium.
Well, I don't hate America, for God's sake, so let's get this show on the road.
Okay, I think I can call some folks and make it happen. Did you know that our boss knows people over at AM 570?
No.
Yeah.
You're making stuff up now.
I know. KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
It's almost like a reveal party. You get to find out the sex of the eventual child that's going to be born. Well, the new James Bond actor's gender and nationality have been confirmed by Amazon MGM Studios, reportedly through an internal memo. This was a thing at the company. According to this internal memo, and I'm sure Mark Ronner will have something to say about this, MGM Amazon Studios will not be changing the gender or nationality of the iconic spy.
The guy from Emilia Perez is not going to do it?
No.
The woman, sorry.
Yes, let's be correct.
It wasn't intentional.
Mm-hmm. According to this internal memo, the actor will reportedly continue to be British or from the Commonwealth. And I sometimes get this mixed up. To be British refers to anything related to Great Britain, which includes England, Scotland, and Wales. And while English specifically refers to only England. And this is something which has always bothered me, why supposedly Bond has to be British or Scottish or English, but we don't have that same expectation of iconic American characters.
Well, you wouldn't want Steve Rogers to be from another country and have an obvious accent, would you?
Oh, all right. I'm glad you did that. Why is it Superman with Henry Cavill?
Because he can pass.
Oh, right, but I'm saying it's called acting for a reason.
Well, yeah, and you should know, by the way, that George Lazenby, the second Bond...
Was he Australian?
He was Australian.
Uh-huh.
And when they were looking around to replace him, James Brolin, Adam West, Batman, and John Gavin was actually hired for it before Connery came back. Those were all Americans.
Spider-Man, Tom Holland,
Yeah.
he's English. So we don't have the same type of expectations for our characters other than just don't remind us that you're British or English when you're speaking the lines. But for some reason, for James Bond, there has been this budding controversy that the actor, saying nothing of gender, but the actor has to be of a certain nationality, which has always been strange to me because it's acting and we don't necessarily require that the actor be of a certain nationality.
Yes. Acting, which is the art of being somebody
you're
who
not.
you are not in real life. Yes. Interesting. That's a people should run with that and try some stuff.
Among the popular rumored choices for the next Bond, and I don't put any stock in this, I believe that these are just names which have been thrown around at some point in some time. Aaron Taylor Johnson, he just starred in that horrible movie Craven.
Yeah, that killed his career, I think.
Richard Madden, I think he has a jaw for it, but I don't know if has the acting chops for it.
He was in a spy show that...
Was it Citadel?
Oh, Citadel was terrible.
I think it was Citadel.
Yeah, he was in a British cop show as well that wasn't that bad, but I don't think he has the riz for Bond, do you?
No, I don't think so. There is something to be said for on-screen persona and gravitas, and can he fill up the screen? And I don't think he can. Idris Elba, I don't think he was ever a serious rumored choice. He was just someone that fans talked about.
Yeah, he's also too old, regardless of the race swapping.
Of course, because whoever's going to be James Bond is going to have to be conceivably for the next 10 years, 4 pictures or whatever.
The way he was written, he's 36 to 40. And that's over and above the fact that, they would crank him out in the 60s, like one every year or two. Now it's 5 years. Mm-hmm. You got to have them a certain age just so they won't be a pensioner by the time they get a third one out.
Tom Hardy, have you seen him lately? He is not aging well.
No, he's not, but he's a beast, and he does, I think, jiu-jitsu.
He does.
I wouldn't go up against him.
No. I'm saying when I say he's not aging well, he looks far more grizzled than a Bond would to me.
He does, and he was kind of like a pretty androgynous, very young actor, and he's aged a little harsh.
You talking about when he's doing Star Trek? What was it? Not Resurrection.
Was it Nemesis?
Nemesis. No. Yeah, it was Nemesis.
That it? Okay.
Yes, it was Nemesis. Obviously, Henry Cavill, I think he's too old and too physically big for the role.
He would have been good at it. I've seen his audition.
No,
he was too young at the time.
Yeah, back then, but not now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't know who's actually going to be the next James Bond, but I do believe that because there's been so much focus on who the actor is going to be, because there's been so much infighting behind the scenes between Barbara Broccoli and MGM, Amazon. I don't know if people care as much now. You think that would be fair to say?
I have seen nothing but fellow Bond fans accept that it's just kind of over.
That's what I thought.
The Eon years, Eon was the company that produced the canonical Bonds, not Never Say Never Again, not the 1967 Casino Royale. That's done. That era is over, and whatever comes next, if they happen to crank out something that doesn't stink, it's a bonus.
I never understood the fascination with also what Bond had to look like, because Daniel Craig, as a blonde Bond, I remember received a lot of pushback. Then when I saw him on screen and acting in the role and the story which they put around him, I was good with it. Now, I'm not British or English, and I don't have possibly the same cultural ties to the character, but it seemed like it turned out all right.
Well, Connery kind of shaped it, but he was written to look like the old musician Hoagy Carmichael. Just a kind of a handsome guy with a comma of black hair and a scar on his face. But then Connery turned it around, and it was impossible to imagine it being anybody but him. And then, they rotated it like Doctor Who. So now there have been, 6?
Yeah, but think about it. I don't believe Sean Connery, even in his prime, could be James Bond today.
What do you mean?
Because in a world of the John Wicks, in a world of the Bourne Identity, Jason Bourne, I don't know if Sean Connery and his affectation, what he brought to the role, would still be received as warmly.
No, and they've really twisted themselves into knots trying to update James Bond not to be offensive when the root of the character is that he's kind of an a-hole.
He's a psychotic killer. He kills without reservation or conscience.
Well, that's not true, but he is a killer, and he's a loner, and he doesn't have a team like Jack Bauer in 24. I think a lot of people have forgotten what makes him tick, and so there's been a push even to have Pierce Brosnan come back for an old James Bond movie, and I've reminded a few people online, which of course those arguments are always beneficial. You always win those arguments. I've been reminding people, the whole point of James Bond is that he doesn't think he's going to get old enough to have.
He's not going to.
He lives like he could die at any time with zero in his bank account.
Isn't that the whole point of most of the titles?
Oh, at a certain point, like when they get to No Time to Die, it's like an AI just generated those. Your random James Bond title generator.
Die Another Day. I mean, how many times are Live and Let Die? I mean, how many times has die been in the title?
It got to be kind of a self-caricature after a while, and they got to find a way out of that because you got to remember the character came out in the early 50s and made sense then in the context of the Cold War, and it's like that Ship of Theseus thing. You change too many things, you might as well not call it James Bond anymore.
But they did address it where, I can't remember in which movie, but they addressed the fact that the idea of a physical agent doesn't have the same type of role or necessity in that spy craft anymore because of technology.
I can see that argument, and also our adversaries have changed over the decades. I mean, it was Russia during the Cold War. It's certainly not Russia this week.
Whatever could you mean?
Our alliances change. We just got shut out of a security meeting with France and the EU, so we don't even know who Bond would be allied with. I mean, his best friend might not be the CIA guy Felix Leiter anymore. It might be a French agent or a Russian agent. Times have changed, and you got to figure out. I would love to see a James Bond actually set in the 50s, and now that we've seen how, say, that serial killer show on Netflix, the David Fincher show, how they can transform a city to look like it was 70s LA or something. Mm-hmm. You could make a 50s James Bond and it would look good.
I think that would be a better series and movie than a contemporary one.
Yeah, like a Mad Men era James Bond.
Yeah,
who wouldn't want to see
period
that?
Piece.
Yeah.
KFI AM 640 live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
Whatever happens, we have got it covered.
KFI
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
Your stomach is a mess and you feel lousy. Something is just off, but you don't know what. Yeah, we get it. You've tried every fad diet and supplement under the sun, and none of it worked. Here's the truth. Your gut's a mess, and your body is letting you know. You're just too busy, and you ignore the signs, making it worse. Viome gets straight to the point, analyzing your gut microbiome to give you a personalized health plan that actually works. Your gut is how your body processes everything that you consume. Stop ignoring the signs. It's time to do something real. Get Viome and fix your gut now. Dial **gut to get $110 off any test. That's *488 to receive a link to the offer.